Welcome to this edition of SKNIS Week in Review, a program highlighting the top stories of the work of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for the past week. Here's a look at some of the highlights for the week of May 20th to 26th, 2022. Government delivers on promise of 10% salary increase. Private sector invited to review employees' condition of work. Farmers dig down on new ways to enhance agriculture sector. And St. Kitts and Nevis music creatives benefit from professional workshop. I am your presenter, Sherima Matthew. Salaried employees and pensioners of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis are now in a much stronger financial position as the promised 10% increase as well as the retroactive payment were reflected on their monthly earnings on May 25, 2022. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, said that as the leader of the country, he is particularly pleased that his government is in a strong enough fiscal position to deliver this much-needed assistance to the hard-working civil servants.
The payment of double-digit increase in salaries speaks well to the fiscal health of the federal government and our continuing interest in investing in our people at this their hour of deepest need.
The 10% increase in wages, salaries and pensions retroactive to January 1st, 2022 was one of several measures announced by Prime Minister Harris on May 2nd to assist the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to alleviate the high cost of living being driven by external forces such as supply chain disruption, the war in Ukraine, and uncertainties in commodity markets. Government auxiliary employees, GAEs, and workers of the Skills Training Empowerment Program STEP received their 10% increase earlier on May 13th, while their arrears for the period January 1st to April 30th were paid on Friday, May 20th. St. Kitts and Nevis's Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, has urged business owners to conduct a review of the conditions of work for employees and, where practical, to follow the government's example by increasing salaries and wages for workers. Dr. Harris's statement was made on Tuesday, May 24th, on the eve of a 10% pay hike for civil servants and government pensioners.
And we would encourage every private sector employer who can do likewise to basically be generous in their determination of the conditions of work for their employees. Now, that is quite distinct from the government setting a minimum wage, which is what would be standard in our Caribbean islands. The private sector has its own scales, its own rate of payment. What is clear is the law defines the minimum level of wage that a person can earn for contributing a certain number of hours, and the private sector cannot go in breach of the law without there being a sanction. But the private sector pay scale and the government's pay scale are different. I believe that everyone really could do well with an increase at this particular moment in time, but I do not have the authority to impose it upon private sector entities, nor do I have access to their books to determine whether they could carry that additional wage bill, and they will have to make that assessment, and I hope very shortly that they will do so.
Any review of the minimum wages has to be discussed by the National Tripartite Committee. The committee comprises representatives from the public sector, private sector, and workers' union. The committee's structure and operations are largely guided by best practices outlined by the International Labour Organization, ILO. Technical staff within the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as farmers in St. Kitts and Nevis, participated in a 3-day informative root crop, banana and plantain training workshop aimed at improving and enhancing the sector in the Federation. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Ron Dublin Collins, welcomed the participants and outlined the objectives of the training.
The skills that will be shared today, the knowledge that will be shared, will definitely go a long way in helping us to realize the success of our program. Now, the long-term objective of the program for roots and tubers is to commercialize root and tuber production to improve living condition, income, food security, nutritional health of our people.
Kistian Fleming, representative for the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, while delivering remarks, noted that as climate change becomes more permanent, countries' approach to agriculture must change.
We would recognize and appreciate that in order to have food security, we must have food supply. This robust, continuous and consistent supply of food in our federation. However, we must put that under the umbrella of global climate change. We see for ourselves the evidence of changes in our climate, increasing the frequency and the intensity of storms, hurricanes, droughts, the variability and irregularity in rainfall patterns. We can no longer project and even expect rainfall and certain amounts around a particular time. All of these point to the fact that there is a need for us to consider things need to change. As the climate change, as the environment change, as food security change on the global and regional and national scale, we need to ensure that we are likewise making transformations in our production and wider system. It is with this we are here this morning. We have recognized as an institution, together with our allied agencies, that we have a critical role to play in terms of lending knowledge. Not that we possess it all, but that we believe we have a major role to play in terms of facilitating and bringing scientific knowledge. And we hope that will be met with experience, with knowledge of your own, and then together this morning. And for the rest of this day and week, we will have an exchange of knowledge that would ensure that production and other aspects of the agriculture sector will indeed meet the growth and transformation strategy that we have set for ourselves.
The participants were issued with certificates at the end of the 3-day training. Creatives in the music sector in St. Kitts and Nevis spent 4 days learning about the business of music from some of the best international music industry professionals. Sherilyn Pemberton, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Communications and Entrepreneurship, noted that topics included Caribbean music industry, entertainment law, music publishing, touring, concerts and merchandising, digital distribution, artist management development, and brand marketing.
This interesting program has been carefully crafted after much engagement with creatives in the music sector. You would recall in 2021, even during the challenging COVID period, we held several forums in order to get your feedback as to what your expectations are from the ministry within the music industry. We have been listening to you, and we are now here with this music program that we are confident will bring much value to your profession or career.
The facilitators were largely recruited by Ivan Berry, a Cartesian Canadian music business executive who is collaborating with the local government to advance the music sector in St. Kitts and Nevis. Minister of Entrepreneurship, Entertainment and Talent Development, MOENT, the Honorable Keela Byron Nisbet, welcomed the partnership with Ivan Berry. She noted that shortly after the establishment of MOENT in 2020, Mr. Berry contacted her with a great deal of enthusiasm and ideas on how to build out the music industry. That relationship is now bearing fruits.
I'm very happy to have you on board with us and for all of the support that you've given so far, for reaching out very early and for sticking with it and so So I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate the team that you've pulled together to assist you on this journey. And I know you promised that this will not be the only team, you have more in store. And so I really do appreciate that.
The Canadian-based Berry said that the members of the team have a long and fruitful history of supporting each other's initiatives. The composition of the personnel provides for information overload and assures that the training will be interactive and well-rounded, he expressed. German Mike, head of the standards at the St. Kitts and Nevis Bureau of Standards, SKNBS, noted that the institution embarked on drafting standards for vehicle inspection in order to ensure health and safety on the road.
Now, in terms of having it in St. Kitts and Nevis, we are mostly looking at roadworthiness to ensure that once your vehicle is tested, you check your brakes and lights and all of that thing, the mechanics are very versed in what should be tested and so forth. But we want to make sure that your vehicle is roadworthy. And that inspection should carry a lot of weight because you want to make sure that when you drive, there's a level of confidence in that inspection that was done. And so far, the general public don't seem to be confident in the inspection. So we embarked on it to harmonize the inspection process across the varying vehicle inspectors to make sure that if you go to Tom, he's doing the same thing, go to Dick, he's doing the same thing, and Harry is also doing the same thing. So no matter where you go, you should be confident in the vehicle inspection that you get and trust the vehicle inspection that you get. Health and safety on the road. That's essentially what we are trying to do. Because people are they don't trust the inspection, they tend to not feel safe. Now, people have alluded to, they don't feel that when they drive, meander on the road and so forth, some of these things, accidents that have happened could have been prevented. This is just what people have, when they call in, this is what they feel, that some of these things could have been avoided if they had a proper vehicle inspection. One guy said he was just pressing brakes, but there was no brakes, and he just had a vehicle inspection, right? So, these are the concerns of the public, and we kind of have to address it. And the only way not the only way, but one of the ways to address it is by getting all of the varying stakeholders, those that drive vehicles and those that inspect vehicles and those that regulate this inspection process, bring them together and say, well, hey, look, how can we tackle this problem? What are some of the things that we know we need? What are some of the tools and expertise that is needed in an inspection shop to ensure that this particular shop is qualified or can be certified to a particular standard.
Mr. Mike noted that the initiative came about due to numerous complaints from both the general public and the public sector. He added that the Bureau is currently looking at a few standards for vehicle inspection in St. Kitts and Nevis from the Bahamas, St. Lucia, and Kenya. He said that the SKNBS will be looking at the standards to see what can be used in St. Kitts and Nevis. However, the aim is to develop a national standard or try to adopt one from either the Bahamas, St. Lucia, or Kenya. Jane Hickson, the most recent centenarian in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, was celebrated for her 10 decades of life on her birthday on Monday, May 23rd at the Carding home. Ms. Hickson was paid a special visit by officials from the government, in particular the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. The Honorable Senator Wendy Phipps, who delivered remarks on behalf of the Minister of Community Development, Gender Affairs and Social Services, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, has more on this story.
Ms. Hickson, today I congratulate you and I salute you and I wish you a most blessed 100th birthday. today we give thanks for her life. We are grateful for her. And at the same time, we give thanks for those persons within our communities who are charged with the responsibility of caring for our elders, because it's not an easy job. For those persons who are charged with the care of our seniors, we have to also pay attention to them too, because the stresses that come with a job like this could be overwhelming. I have been to several of these ceremonies over the last 6 or 7 years, and every one of them is special, every one of them is unique, and it reminds us of how very fortunate we are to be able to honor our elders and to look at how St. Kitts and Nevis would have advanced in terms of our human development. Because in the 1940s, 50s, and before, living to 100 was not something that was very common, because public health advances were not what they are today.
Currently, there are 11 nationals who are centenarians, 8 Kittitians, and 3 Nevisians. Those from St. Kitts who have surpassed 100 years are Ruby Thomas, 101, and Bernice Sebastian, residing in the US, 109. George David, Agnes Kelsick, Angeline Revan, Adolphus Stevens, Esther Harris, and Jane Hickson are 100 years old. Mary Brown, Eliza Jeffords, and Gwendolyn Stapleton Clark from Nevis are also 100 years old. That was the SKNIS Week in Review for May 20th to 26th. I am Sherima Matthew. See you next week as we continue to update you, the general public, on what's happening in and around the Federation.